my colleagues in the business. And I think it was really fascinating to see that they are not sure, but I also think the time was too short to really go deeper into each and every conversation. There are so many speakers, so many exciting things. So I really think that from a festival programming perspective, the opportunities are there, and so many people are now starting to think around how can they start forging collaborations and exchanges.
Wow. Thank you very much, Faisal, for that. I want to just drive your attention to something that we always look down on. When a new relationship is coming, there must be communication to that new relationship. People must understand where we are coming from. And attitude and perception of people from the past, as we forge a way forward, like President Macron says, that we should not forget the past, that it does exist, but also the past should not stop us from forging a way forward, to think business and think a new direction. But there is a huge part that must be communicated clearly, and people must understand it. From what I gather all across Africa, and I've been talking to so many other people from different countries, from Rwanda, Burundi, I've had a chat with guys in Angola, people have said that, well, they are talking like that, but yet the French people inside the country itself feel like the Macron is opening up a new kind of things. We're already tired of these guys. You want to bring them here, you're opening room for them to come. It's not being received very well internally. I mean, when you guys were there in France, what was the feeling like when you're driving around in a bus or going there? Were people feeling like, look at this?
No, I think of course there were demonstrations. Yes. There was a demonstration of some young people who called them France for France, and their point was clear. They were like, why are you investing money in Africa yet we still have ghettos in France? And it's a valid point from their point of view. They were really very strict on that. They were really demonstrating. But also on the other hand, when I look at the city of Montpellier, that everywhere I went to the restaurant, they were excited. Oh, you're from the Africa Summit. So they were happy that that week they were making some revenue, extra revenue. After, don't forget, it has been COVID time. Yes. People have been locked down. Now we have all these 3,000 people in the city. It's a beautiful city, by the way. So you have all these 3,000 people, and they're eating, they're drinking, they're staying in the hotels and stuff like that. So the economy was facilitated. And it's not us, we didn't pay the bill. It's the French government that was paying the bill. So this is also something that the city was benefiting from. Of course, there are also other people who are saying, thinking that, okay, France should have focus on its problem. Of course, France has its problems, many problems, and those problems are not only within France, internally with the people, but it's also outside of France. That's what brought about this lady from Burkina talking about the serving with one hand and taking with the other, supporting the military and then calling the youth to engage into a conversation. So, of course, there are so many other parts that play in this whole business, and I think the government also has to set its agenda and set its priorities. But that doesn't stop people from protesting its ideas. So for me, it's a normal thing. It's just that their protests are handled in a much more civilized way than we do here. So I would think that there were valid demonstrations, and they had to be honest. I wasn't French. I wasn't offended, and I felt like they really had a right to demonstrate, because you cannot invite 3,000 people, spend all these millions on them for one day, and you still have ghettos where young people are living in places where there is no safe water, where there are so many problems that they have. So I think they had a right to demonstrate, but at the same time, I felt like also I had a very good opportunity to meet my new peers and to see that there is a bigger picture coming into this new relationship.
Okay. Talking of that, by the way, Faisal, from the point of demonstration, and then you say that the French paid all the bills. There are some sections that believe that there was some people were treated fairly, others were treated differently, others says that we should have paid all the bills. I moderated some of the conversation that was going on, and I was just speaking from different people from all across Africa. Ever since we started running this program here on the Creative Industry Talk, we've been receiving comments from people from all across Africa. This is actually only platform where actually the review of the summit is happening.
Yeah.
You know, it's only on Creative Industry Talk, and people have been writing to me from all over Benin, name it, Nigeria. I've interacted with people in Nigeria, and everyone is saying, well, I mean, the conversation, okay, we wish we could have the same, all the people who went 3,000 people can actually be able to give their feedback. But there was also a feeling that, France should have paid all the bills, that some people were given the air ticket, they had to take care of themselves when they were there. So there was assumption that everyone who was invited could have had a certain amount of money. But Africa has a number of challenges. I could be a very good business person, but if you give me the treat like that, I think is everything. So some people came with a different feeling altogether. What was the feeling like from the Ugandan camp? Uganda took the biggest number.
I think, I don't know. I think there were more other countries that really took a big number.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say, I wasn't really camping with them, and actually I met a few of them. I just bumped into some and be like, hey, you're here, what are you doing? I knew some who were there, like Daudi and others. So but again, I think going back to this whole issue of who paid the bill and what I think sometimes people miss the point. And also sometimes we tend to think that when you're invited, someone has to take care of you. I think yes, they paid for my ticket and my hotel, but they didn't feed me. And I didn't complain, but I felt like my feeding myself was valid because I had a very relevant reason why I was there. I wasn't there just to be part of the conversation. I was giving a presentation, I was meeting with ministers, I was meeting with the stakeholders, and I was there for a purpose. So I'm not going to look at why did France pay all the food and everything that, they already did me a favor to invite me, because it was also a very long process to get invited to this event. Yes, it was a very difficult process. First of all, you had to be fully vaccinated. If you're not fully vaccinated, then you could go a week before and be quarantined for 7 days. Then if you test negative, you can have access to this space. So there was a long process. And that whole process cost the French government a lot of money, And when we were returning, we all got our COVID vaccinations for free. So we didn't have. So these are the things that we also have to look at. I think we have to look at the reasons why we were there. I was not there to take selfies. I was not there to just be part of the gathering. I was there for a reason, and I felt like I needed to achieve some of the things that I need to achieve because I'm just there, and the conference is for one day. I need to take advantage of my time and the people who are there to get something out of it. So I managed to build onto my contact list. I managed to meet important people that I think I'm going to engage with in the future, and I'm looking forward to working with the Institut Français, with the Minister of Commerce, the French Development Agency, because I realized that when you have a conversation, even if their policies and agendas are not in line with what you're doing, they can start thinking around, okay, what is the added value here? And if you can make a good case, then they would slowly start coming into the case. And I think the steps are already there. So I'm totally not, into why I wasn't given money for food, but everything else was taken care of, and I totally got value for the time I spent there.
Wow. And talking of that, Faisal, I've just seen a message coming from somebody else. Says we need to talk about the Africa way of doing things. Sometimes we the Africans expect that we need to be given everything, and everything. We don't want to spend anything. But we're saying that the new relationship means that you also
it's a give and take,
a give and take situation. What is your take on that one? Of sometimes we have this mentality all across Africa that if you're giving me, then you have to give me everything. And so when I give you everything, there's a possibility that I can name a price and buy you at my cost.
But I think also the issue of people thinking France has taken so much from Africa that they need it back in terms of now, you took our gold, you took our goods, of course they are taking a lot, to be honest. When you look at, West Africa, it's French, you go there, it's Orange, you cannot have any other network. Every city you use Orange, you use Canal Plus, so they're doing business, meaning they're taking. But I think the idea that they have realized that they need to give back, and not giving back just in terms of sponsoring festivals and events, which they do a lot in the Francophone Africa. Every festival, every event is supported by Orange, is supported by Canal Plus. So they are really giving that. But now they're really looking into investing in the new generation of thinkers, of IT guys, because they also need the workforce. You can't keep up with bringing people from France to come and work in your territories. So I think this is a very good venture, and I'm not really sad about what they're doing and how they're doing it. What I need to do is to see what role do I play in this new relationship. And I think it's important for people to really think around not only how much am I going to get. Yes, we all need something, but it has to come when you're prepared and ready to use it the best way possible. Wow. So it's not just pocket money, or let me go to Alliance Française or Institut Français and they give me 10,000 euros. What are you going to use it for? How are you adding to their goal of having a bilateral relation with Africa? So I think for me, my responsibility now is to see how can I prepare myself when the opportunity comes? Because this is the beginning. We're just starting a conversation. Yeah. If the opportunity comes and now France says, okay, now like AFD has put in, I think 5 million euros into the creative industries. And that means that in the next 5 years, we have 5 million euros to spend on the creative industries in Africa. And at the moment, we are working with like 7 countries. We are adding on more. Uganda is one of them. So there is a big opportunity. And if that opportunity is going to expound, how am I prepared to take advantage of that, to be part of that pool that is going to be supported as well? Because I just don't only fit into the idea of being Ugandan and being part of the conversation, but I'm also helping the French government to achieve its goal of forging this new partnership with Africa.
Wow. Well, we're talking about the new Africa-France Summit 2020. What does it really mean for Uganda's creative industry in the festival programming? And of course, the Creative Industry Talk today is hosting Faisal Kiwewa from Bayimba Cultural Foundation, fresh from the new Africa Summit in Montpellier. Is back here. That word is disturbing. But Faisal, we want to take a break, and when we come back, we want to continue this conversation from what the Ambassador Extraordinaire, as I call him, Joe Zaman, said, that I would want us to think about the next step. Not to look at what has happened, but the next step. And he talks about a few things. The new relationship means, respect for one another. It means integrity. It means a commitment. It means that mutual respect for businesses. And he says that creativity is where the business is. And I believe that no business in the world can exist without creative people.
No.
And there cannot be marketing and sales and communication if there are no communication from the creative people. So,
and I think also, just to add on to that, it's also important for people to understand that, as I said earlier, that we need also to prepare ourselves. When the opportunity shows up, how prepared are you? If you want to level with France, as Africa, you want to level with France, what does France see as a ground level? How are we going to balance our, levels of trade, levels of product development, levels of education, in knowledge, IT? You have to see yourself at the more where the French is, so that you can start to build up to be leveling with them. But if you say, okay, we have started this relationship, and you're going to sit back and relax and then wait for France to tell you, okay, now we need engineers, and be like, wait a minute, I don't have an engineer. So you are not going to level. So meaning that we have had an opportunity to open up a new era. And this opportunity means that we have to start preparing ourselves to meet the standards of this new era. We are not going to just be there as Africans and wait to be told, okay, now we need students to go to, like what they're doing in Qatar and in the Middle East, taking all our young kids there to do what? That's modern slavery. Are we so badly off that we can't take care of our own kids? And we send them to other people to treat them the way they want. So I think this is something that we need to learn, to say that, okay, France has opened up an opportunity. How are we going to prepare ourselves to be able to catch up and start playing at a leveled ground?
Wow. Well, we are talking to Faisal Kiwewa, and this is a Creative Industry Talk live on House of Talent Television. My name is Okila. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will discuss what could be the next step, or what's next for the creative industry, to pick up from that pieces. And of course, Faisal and I will be back to break that down. We want to hear from you. Do you have a cases or comment from all across, whether in Africa, Europe, wherever you are, you're watching the program, please share with us and we'll definitely be able to read your comments and we want to hear your thoughts. Stay right there. We'll be right back after this. This is the Creative Industry Talk.
My first advice to my students, the people I train, the people I talk to, is that at every stage of coffee, from the farm to the cup, you can gain something. So I first get to know, like, you as you, what's your passion? Is it going to the garden? Is it going to the factory? Or is it like being a supplier? First of all, we are working for people. We're working for people, but our dreams are being self-employed. Yes. So in coffee, if I'm mentoring you, if like I want you to get something good, improve on your life, me, I can pass through roasting. I can teach you how, like I can teach you or train you the part of coffee roasting. So within that process, you like will be making some money somewhere. And where does that money comes from? You buy your coffee, you roast, you pack it, and you sell. Of course, there are many cafes that are opening. We have our organizations here in Uganda, like they are boosting up the consumption. We have business people that are starting up cafes, but there is that gap. There's that gap of supply. There's that gap of supply. Big companies are exporting, but we can also be the big company at our youth stage. We roast our coffee, we pack it, and we sell it. Let me take another example. You can be a good person in computer graphic designing. So when I introduce that idea, you can plan the way of branding that coffee, how we can market that coffee. Yes. So we can, like, at the end of the process, me and you will be having something to put in the pocket, or to save on the account.
mon frère, viens ma sœur, à l'Alliance française,
à l'Alliance française,
venez, venez, l'étranger m'a pris.
Après l'anglais,
La connaissance du français ouvre des portes, des entreprises en France.
comme à l'étranger,
La connaissance du français ouvre des portes, des entreprises en France.
comme à l'étranger,
Le français, la langue de la culture.
la langue internationale pour la cuisine.
La mode, les théâtres, les habitués, la danse et
L'architecture,
le français, la langue de la culture, la langue internationale.
Welcome back from that break. That is a song from Alliance Française. And Faisal, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
And there was a big problem of the people who went to France. Many of the people from the Anglophone countries didn't understand French and didn't speak French. And so they were relying mostly on the translations. And translation can, things can disappear. Thankfully, for some people who were close, had engineer Peter Nyeko, who was able to break things down. I've had a lot of comments coming from so many other people who were saying, no, it was difficult, we couldn't hear. And do you think that it's important for Africans to start learning French now?
Oh, of course. If you want to do, if you want to pick up, again, it's part of the whole package of starting a new relationship. To be honest, if you want to be, if you want to trade with someone, you have to learn their language. As much as they are also struggling to learn our language. It's not easy for French people to speak English. It's not easy because they are very proud. There's a very, very particular language that they are very proud of as part of their culture, but also part of their, their linguistic background. So seeing Macron speaking English because he has realized, and that's really bending the knee for a president. Really, like he knows that yes, there are Francophone people who don't even understand the one word of English, but there are also these very many English people who he wants also to reach. He wants his message to be clear. And he says it in English. So I think it's very important for us as well to start thinking, how do we learn French? How do we start? You can't work with people if you can't understand each other.
There is a thinking that, people have been talking about this, and the French embassy has been pushing this quite a bit ever since, that people should learn French, and speak French. I want to hear from you, what does it necessarily mean to the music and music business, music creative people in the business, and of course people like you who are festival programmers. Do you think it's important? And what does it mean? Would you start teaching French at?
No, I'm learning French. No, I wouldn't do that because Alliance is here. Alliance is here, and we have to support them as well to have more students. And I think they are really. But I'm also very proud, and I don't know how the statistics are, but I'm very proud to see how many Ugandans are doing their best to learn French. It's really great to see that the numbers are increasing. Of course, we had this COVID situation, but there are many Ugandans who want to learn French, and it's a good thing. But also from our programming perspective. As programmers, we face a lot of challenges if you're working with French artists and you don't speak French. First of all, like communication is in French. Of course, nowadays we try to do Google, but still there is that missing understanding of the language and the text. Contracts are always in French. If you're dealing with French agencies, they do their best to translate them, but it's also difficult for them. So if you know French, it's much easier. But I've also understood that really collaborations are always about conversations. And you cannot really have a conversation with someone who speaks a different language than you are. And that's why it's difficult, and it has been difficult for French companies and French artists to work with Anglophone artists or Anglophone countries because there is not easy conversation. I have some of my friends who have been, now that I speak a little bit of French, I understand a bit of French. But I've had some of my folks whom, we could do business and they like what we're doing. They would like to do, but I don't speak French. And I say, Faisal, you have to learn French. You have to learn French. And I understand, I feel we want to do things, but the language is a barrier. And how do we break that barrier? By helping each other to learn each other's language and to make sure that we can keep up and see that we are easily having a conversation. There is no way you can collaborate with someone without conversation.
Wow.
And you have to understand the language in which you're conversing.
Wow. Faisal, I just want to pick from here. So a lot of people say that, do I learn French just to speak to these guys? What guarantee do I have that when I learn French, I will actually do business, or I will go to France, I'll do business with the French people?
No,
what's your take on that? When I talked to a musician and says, I asked him, I mean, now that France is talking about the new, France, the new Africa-France relationship, would you learn French and sing in French? And he says, why can't I sing in my language and they also translate in their language? And I says that the French people are very proud of their language. We should also be very proud of our language. Then I said, France is aware of who France is and what France has to be. Unfortunately, not most of us in Africa are aware of, like, for example, who we are and what we want to be and how we want to be. But they are very specific. They know who they are, they know what they want to be, and so they would always be proud of their language than us. But what I want you to really throw light on is a photographer. I asked another photographer who is a creative person, and he says, just to learn French because I want to go and take pictures in France and talk to people in France, I'm not going to do that.
No,
I mean, what do you think about this?
I think it's a wrong thing to say or to think like that, unless if you don't have any business or any idea or interest in a country or in a language, because we all don't go to school to be who we learn, who we study. We go to school because it's a necessity. It helps us to navigate challenges that we face in the future. If you study science and you're doing agriculture, it doesn't mean that what you studied was a waste of time. So if you learn a language and there is an opportunity for you to trade, to engage, to collaborate, then that investment has paid off. It's not a waste of money. And also, I don't think everyone who learns French here is looking at going to Paris. Oh, I'm going to Paris next week. Let me go and do oui, was bonsoir. No, I think it's really getting themselves prepared for any opportunity that comes along. If someone comes, I have a job and I want someone who's a bilingual or speaking French and English, and you happen to be one of them, then the opportunity is yours. Maybe the job is not to take you to France, but to go to Hoima and translate for the French company Total that is building a pipeline with Peter Nyeko. So I think these are some of the things that really we learn languages for. And if it happens that there's a big opportunity where there's a direct trade between the two, why not? But I wouldn't target on, let me learn French to please the French people. No. I learn it because I think it's a good opportunity for me and a good added value to my CV, to my other opportunities that can come forth.
Okay. Faisal, that said, I'm going to take you straight to this point. We're talking about what does this really mean, or rather, what does it really mean to the French, to the African creatives? The African creatives for a long time have been sort of like finding it difficult to make it to the world stage. You're right? And of late, of course, we're seeing the rising influence and recognition of the African art on the global stage. We talked about it recently. And do you think that this new Africa-France relationship is going to help fasten the process of us getting to the world stage, when people begin to realize, are they genuine about this recognition on the global stage, or it's just
I wouldn't look at it that there is a very good stairs now. We're going to jump the stairs. The process is going to be the same. They will still ask you for your bank account and how much you have to get a visa. Don't even think around that, Macron is going to be like, be kind. No, they're not going to be kind. Why are they investing in Africa? From my opinion, it might not be their case. But how I look at it is like, yes, with everything else that we've talked about, but they're also looking at keeping African youth in their country or in their countries. Because why are people migrating? Why are people getting on the boats and dying in the ocean, in the sea, crossing, trying to get that opportunity to go to France? It's because they don't have opportunities. Our governments and our systems have let them down so much that they find them easier to get on the boat and whether die or not, but at least die trying, getting to Europe. So if you capacitate these young people, if you give them opportunities, if you invest in their ideas, they will definitely stay home. And if you invest in one idea or 10 ideas, it means that you're employing 100 people. Like Eddie here, with your venture. How many people do you give opportunities to work, to earn a living, even if it's small? but you're really assisting a few families to survive on that small thing that you're offering them. So if there are many 10 eddies that are doing the same in Imbara, in Imbale, in Kapchora, you find that the young people would have woken up to think around getting on the boat or think around migrating to Europe. They have a job to do. They have something to look up to. Then I think the French are looking at it that way. How do we reduce on the numbers of people coming to our shores? How can we help these young people to achieve their dreams? How do we, because the systems have let them down. That's why you find there are so many schools of young people. In Mali, in Guinea, in all these, they are looking at, it's young people. And the old generation has really sat back because for them, yes, they have made their revenues or resources, and now the young people are left to struggle. So I really think that the opportunities for the young people who have to also be able to think for themselves, and then the French can come in to keep them in their home countries, but supporting their own economies, because they don't have much to offer in France. And when they go there, not all of them are educated to get a good job. Yes, it's a change of environment, the opportunities to get some, 20 euros per hour to work, but that's not the life you want to be. If you want to be an engineer, you want to develop software, you want to create an investment in your own country, they are thinking of how do we support these young people to do that, so that they don't come showing up at our gates all the time.
Wow. Faisal, as we hasten up to the close of the program today, and I want to first of all, if you have a criticism or comment coming for Faisal, please share it. We will definitely read it here. We are talking about the new Africa-France, summit, or the new Afrique relationship that we have. And of course, recently with the summit in Montpellier, we discussed quite a number of these things. Of course, other people believe that the conference was too short to discuss and to exhaust many things. It's hopeful that this conversation will continue. But I think that we need to break this conversation, Faisal, from our local point of view here. We must understand. I mean, I'm not just going to show up to learn French because I must go to learn French because now there's opportunity for me to do business with the Congolese. There's opportunity for me to do business with Senegalese. There's opportunity for me because it's now open and they're saying there's this many billions of euros being put in Africa. It's meant for us to go, to the next step. Faisal, when we start back to have a discussion and to hear from you guys who are in France. Some of us were in France by just videos, statements, I think, yes. But you guys were there physically and we look at these things. We wanted to basically hear from you. And all through that discussion, you were not there, unfortunately. We would have had your thoughts. It was an open floor. And the ambassador kept on pushing and asking questions. Says, I would like us to think of the next step. What would it be like? What do we do from this point, having gone there and come back? And unfortunately, to my dissatisfaction, so to say, most of the people who went to France didn't have a clear direction, of where, with the exception of very few. I think Paul Rukundo talked something that was a bit sensible. Some people didn't find opportunity to do any business, but I'm hearing you having an opportunity to discuss business and you are following it up. Paul Rukundo was the same. There was Peter Nyeko who had a few conversations and it was the same. But a bigger number of people seems to have come back empty-handed. Some of them were language barrier. They couldn't speak French, so they couldn't even engage with the next person on the other side in France to sort of discuss business. What do you think should be the next step going forward from the ambassadors, borrowing from the ambassadors' point of view? Yeah, I think, first of all, I wouldn't blame the people who didn't have come back with anything, because it was a very expose. I mean, to be in this space and so many people, you didn't know, some people, if you didn't know, you could not really do anything or speak to anyone because there was so much. You see, because it wasn't only for the creatives, and there were basketballers, footballers, the Drogbas and stuff like that. So it was a spectacle, and that means that if you're not used to this kind of environment, you get lost in that way, and you need time to adjust to learn things. So some people really were overwhelmed by the environment. But what needs to be done? I think some of my conversations with the IF and INPE and AFD, for me, and also the Minister for Economics, I was really emphasizing the fact
of balancing investment. And we have to look at where we are. I'm speaking for Uganda, and this is my experience here. When you look at the Francophone African countries, there's a lot of opportunities when it comes to support in the arts, when it comes to opportunities to perform around the world, to tour, to have spaces for performances. And there's only one Institut Français that is in an Anglophone country in the world, and I think that is in Ethiopia. All the other Anglophone countries have Alliance Française. They don't have the institutes, whereby the institutes comes with a package.
So what's the difference between the institute and
the institute is like, you know, there is a theater, there is a performance spaces, there is it's a whole, you know, it's like an institution. You know, but
so
alliances,
is that like is the institute you know, a direct arm of the government?
Exactly, it gets direct support, but for Alliance to survive and to carry on its programs, it gets a small budget from the embassy or from Total or from, but they don't get direct support. The institute gets direct support from the government, and that gives it much more opportunity to kind of program better, do more engagements, and support more artists. So I was thinking, like, I was asking, why don't we start looking at where do we need to invest? I don't mean that every Anglophone country needs an Institut Français, because also it's a monopoly in a way. When you go to the Anglophone, to the Francophone countries, everything happens at Lyon, at the Institut Français. You know, they do free programs, so they actually occupy the market, and they don't support people. But I was thinking from a point of, like, we don't have spaces. And it's not only in Uganda, in Kampala, but when you look around the country, all these new cities don't have spaces. How can we start investing in spaces for the artists, for the creatives to explore and to create work and to develop content? I also look at how do we start exchanging between African countries, you know, not only between the Francophone speaking countries, because you find sometimes that artists are on tour, and they are only touring Institut Français. They are not touring Alliance Française countries or the Anglophone countries, because there is no performance space, because there's, you know, you get what I mean. So how do we start facilitating this mobility of artists within the continent without saying they are Francophone or Lusophone or Anglophone or Spanish speaking? So I think it's that balance for me that I was looking at, and also to assess, because sometimes we get things wrong by just saying this is what we need to do, but yet it's not what you need to do. You need to first understand what is the problem when it comes to the creatives. What are we missing here in Uganda? What do we need spaces? Do we need support for trainings? Do we need capacity building for entrepreneurs? Do we need investment in technology? Do we need investment in systems? So what do we need? And I think if we can first assess ourselves to know where the problems, we have so many things going on, but we don't know what needs to come first, or what needs to come later, or afterwards. So I think it will be important that in these next steps, we first focus on each country, like for the embassy and the alliances and all the French agencies, to look at the country and say, okay, who are the young people here? What are they doing? What do they need? What do they have? Because that will give us a very good way of investing the right way. And making these deeper investments, they give us the opportunity to look at long-term engagements. Because my problem is, most of these small projects that they bring are very short-term. I support you, I'll give you 20,000 euros for 16 months and send me a report with this quantitative, qualitative statistics and blah, 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 blah. We don't need that anymore. Yes. We don't need that anymore, because our generation, we are not like, okay, before 10 years ago, we needed that because we needed to learn how to do business. Now we've learned how to do business. We don't need to be trained how to do business anymore. We need to be given the opportunities to invest for longer term. Because this short term of workshop, I don't understand why people always run to this workshop money.
Maybe it's a strategy also, maybe it's something that we need to change, because a few section of people actually believe that there's one thing the president talking about this, the other thing is actually seeing it come to a realization. And he says that the mentality from some of these institutes is first, maybe this would be a PR, just stand to, make things happen. Given the pandemic, everybody's trying to bounce back from the superpower point of view. That maybe it's another saying, no, it's actually real. But from what you have said, how can we change? What would be your advice to these people who give small monies and expect a huge number? What should they do differently going forward? From your perspective?
I think, to be honest, there are newcomers always who need this kind of support. And I've always engaged with my donors and I tell them, okay, I think I'm not at that level where I used to run around for 5,000 euros and 10,000. They don't, what do you do with 5,000 euros? But I think there are some young organizations, some young entrepreneurs who can really benefit from that money and can take them. That's why we are always financing these young entrepreneurs through our program, the Africa Creative, because we know they need that 20,000. It will take them. But also knowing that there are institutions like Bayimba, that $20,000 or euros don't mean anything to us. We need bigger amounts to do bigger things, because we are moving our industry and the sector a step forward, because we've matured, we've progressed, we have ascended, they call it ascended from where we were in a very bad way. Now we are looking at the future, and that future means that it needs to be invested in a deeper way for a longer term. So we have to have open conversations on what kind of investment do we need. We were talking about investments before, and like, what kind of investments do we need? Are we talking about, equity? Are we talking about joint ventures? Are we talking about, we can have open conversations, but we don't, I think if we are always like, okay, AFD is there, we are there, there's no meeting ground, there's no agenda, there's no opportunity to engage in a conversation, it becomes very difficult. So I've never had a deeper discussion with the French, any French people, although I work with them. But being in Montpellier, it gave me an understanding of a clear image and understanding of how the government looks at its next steps of engagement. It was very warm, very open and natural and honest and genuine. And you think for yourself, okay, what am I going to do to meet this engagement, to make it work? So I think we have to assess ourselves. We have to see what we need. We need to know what we need. We are not going to say the embassy will tell us what to do. We need to know ourselves. And then from
that's what the ambassador was asking for.
We need to know ourselves, because even if the embassy has 10 million euros now, we don't know where we have to invest this money. Yet we have so many problems. But we don't know what comes first, what comes next. So if we understand, if we are helped, or if we help ourselves to understand the problems we have, the things we have, the capacities we have, the capacities we need, then it will be much, much more easier to develop, to create a strategy that we can achieve and invest our money wisely. But now everyone runs there because, I think I can get some money. They write a proposal, they take it's useless. I wouldn't fund that kind of projects. I want to see things that have a shared vision, something that is very overall contributing to a bigger change.
Wow. Well, that is Faisal right there, coming from the break and breaking things out. Fresh from Montpellier back to Kampala, is talking about, what does this new Africa-France relationship mean for us? The show has come to an end, and we want to say thank you so much for giving us opportunity to be in your sitting room, on your mobile phone, in your computer, and of course
consuming your data.
Consuming your data, but giving you valuable information from a creative point of view. Faisal, we're going to wrap this up quickly. I want to just look into that camera and tell us, the 3 things that we should take home today, that you think we should pick up from this conversation today. What does it mean from the creative and the festival programmer's point of view, which has music, dance, drama, theater, and the writers? Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think 3 things, I don't know. Off-aid, I would say the first thing, the opportunities are there. And we've seen it, we've been shared, we've been told, and we've experienced it. So we think that we need, second, to prepare ourselves to, when the opportunity comes, we take it when we are ready. And I think that's the most important thing. The second thing is that I think it's important we try to learn the language. The language will help us, it will ease the conversation, it will ease the opportunities to collaboration, it will ease our engagement, because once people know that you've made an effort to learn or to understand their language, it makes it easier them even to trust, to know that you have an interest in what is going on. The third thing I would say, don't expect everything from France. They're not your parents, they're not your governments. They're also doing their best. They have so many problems, and this whole continent is looking up to them to support them. I know they have a history, but that's not our fault or the current people. I think we need to play a role ourselves. We need to see that if we want to play at a leveled ground, whereby if I am France, I have the same values and respect and work ethics and integrity like being in Uganda, then we'll do business. So let's see, how do we need to move forward, to level, to work together, to respect, to understand, to integrate, and to be open-minded. That's all. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Faisal, first of all, for giving us opportunity. We need to spread love with the other hand, so we have to spread love to everyone out there. Yeah. Well, the Creative Industry Talk has come to an end today. We want to say thank you very much, everybody, for being part of the show. Until next week, keep it locked. Creative Industry Talk, Okila, Faisal Kiwewa, signing out.
La cuisine, la mode, les théâtres, les habituels,
La danse et l'architecture.
oh, oh,
Oh, I love France.
oh, oh,
Oh, I speak French.
oh,
Oh, I love France.
oh,
Oh, I speak French.
I love France.
Oh,
I love
I
France.
love France.
I speak French.
Oh,
I speak
I
French.
speak French.
This one is called manual brewing. This is gravity manual brewing.
Yeah.
It's part of specialty.
Oh.
So we've been talking about specialty. Specialty came and introduced to us manual brewing, two methods of brewing. That's the main difference between specialty and commercial.
Yeah.
In specialty cafes, you'll find people, baristas doing manual brewing.
Okay.
In commercial, they'll be doing only machine, espresso machine.
Okay.
That's another method. And this is another method. So we
Okay.
do this one manually. What's the main point of manual brewing? And what is our expectations?
Yeah.
Why do we make manual brewing? What's the difference between this and the normal coffee?
Yeah.
First of all, it's not about making strong coffee, making whatever. No, we can make manual brewed coffee, a very nice one.
Yeah.
What we are looking for is optimum balance.
Okay.
Shouldn't be bitter,
Oh.
shouldn't be too acidic, should be balanced.
Okay.
So someone should drink coffee and enjoy only that.
Yeah. Let's pull up the camera.
It is the CEO Bench. My name is Okila, and my guest this morning or this afternoon from whichever part of the world that you are catching or watching the CEO Bench from is Jennifer Okusia of BOSCO Uganda. She is the new executive director of BOSCO Uganda. And of course, the name BOSCO is one of the most famous names in Uganda and in Africa. So welcome to the show and welcome to the CEO Bench discussion this morning. Jennifer, I would like to take this moment to welcome you to the show. How are you, first of all?
Thank you. I'm really very well.
Great. So the name BOSCO, it's a very famous name in Uganda. How did you guys come up with BOSCO?
Actually, the name BOSCO Uganda is an acronym that stands for Battery Operated System for Community Outreach.
Okay.
Yes, so it is a faith-based organization under the Archdiocese of Gulu. We are located in northern Uganda, in Gulu district, and it started in 2007, just at the time, just slightly after the end of the war. It started in a way to kind of connect the people in the northern region. If you know very well that time, us who came from the north, it was very difficult to travel. Say from Makerere when I was a student, crossing over to the West Nile region. So it was really, really hard because of the war. In the park, it was always such, how do I say, very stressful moment. You always had fear because of the war that was going on. At that time, the rebels had abducted people. There were many people living in internally displaced camps. So, and there was kind of very little information coming from that side about the facts, what was really going on in the region. And the owners, the founders of BOSCO Uganda, there is a priest called Father Joseph Okumu and a friend from the USA called Gus. They had the idea of establishing ICT centers within the camp, within the internal displaced people's camps, with the idea of connecting, the camps with the world, so that the people in the region are able to express themselves and tell their own stories, and also get to connect with the outside world, so that people get to see what is happening. And if you remember very well, the Archbishop, who is still the one, Archbishop Odama, that time children would sleep on the streets because it was not safe. And you remember the time when he joined them to sleep on the streets. Very young children, as old as 3 years, 4 years, had to leave their homes to come and sleep on the street. So there was a need to share information about what is going on in the region. And also it was established in a way to enable people speak out about their lives, so that people get to understand really the situation in the context. So BOSCO was established to kind of connect people from one camp to another. So the first connection was in Pabo camp, and then we thought of establishing additional camps, like additional sites in other camps. So using a voice over telephony system. And also I could say that BOSCO and the founders were really visionary in a way that they started having wireless network connection already in the camps, that early. So what we are today is an organization that has now established about 54 ICT centers. These are information communication technology centers in communities, in the rural communities, basically to connect the unconnected, end the digital isolation, and enable people, using the internet to reach out to the world, access information. And BOSCO does not only do connection in the communities, but also the organization supports other, NGOs, other organizations, and the Archdiocese, the institution of the Archdiocese, with connectivity. And it is a not-for-profit organization. It's a private, not-for-profit organization. So we don't do it for profit at all, but it is about the community and about extending services to the places where you find the main companies like MTN and others are not reaching, because the northern region, as you know, because of the war, fell behind on many development indicators. So access, even roads, are not very easy. So you find BOSCO Uganda and its network, the wireless network, up to Pabo. You find it in Gago district. You find in really all the Acholi sub districts, and also in Lango. And we've also established some ICT centers in the West Nile. It expanded from connecting people towards also building skills of people, like basic skills on computer, so that people are able to use it, and work. And recently we did some interesting work with Lacho Hospital, trained a number of health workers, tutors, and today, as you know, with COVID, more than ever, digitalization is highly appreciated. It's the way to go, and BOSCO continues to give people skills on basic computer and also connect them so that they're able to reach out the world and do their work.
Wow. Jennifer, what a beautiful story right there. I want to take you back a little bit from a personal point of view. You've talked about BOSCO. Now we understand that it's not the BOSCO, the Katala of the city. but it's really the BOSCO, the Katala of the village or of the community. That's the most important thing about it. I want to take you back to a more personal question. Who is Jennifer Okusia?
A simple lady.
Humble
lady. I am a Ugandan.
Yeah.
And I'm from Moyo district. My dad is from Moyo, and my mother was from Arua, so she was a Lubara. I'm a Madi. How do I say? I'm 41 years old. I look so young, but I'm 41 years old.
Yeah.
And I studied in Makerere University. I started from studying in Arua. Arua was my school time, primary school in Arua. Arua Hill Primary School, which now is hosting, I think they are setting up a football pitch there.
Yeah.
And then I studied Muni Girls Secondary School, a wonderful school. And then I came to Makerere University. Yeah. So all my life I've been living up in the north in West Nile in Arua, and I studied development studies, bachelor's in development studies from Makerere University. Then after a few years I did my postgraduate in business management, and then I did a master's with Uganda Matters University in development studies as well. Wow. So I'm a woman who, I would say I'm a development worker.
Yes.
Very passionate about social development and transformation of lives.
Wow. Jennifer, you were nominated to come onto the CEO Bench. The program that you're on right now is called the CEO Bench. The CEO Bench exists to, you know, spotlight people who are on a good leadership journey from self-leadership to community leadership to national leadership and to, you know, infinity leadership, if that exists, which we know it does. Yeah. But the people who nominated you seems to have to believe that you're doing something good. And so whenever we have nomination to bring people to the CEO Bench, we're looking at their leadership abilities, we're looking at their level of change management, how do they manage change from one place to the next, because you're growing into a ladder, and CEO Bench, you know, shine lights on people who are on the top, and those who are either on the top coming down, or those who are going to the top. You've recently been appointed as the new executive director of BOSCO Uganda. And I guess that is the reason why there's spotlight on you at the moment. And on the CEO Bench, we want to know from you. We've asked you the question, who is Jennifer, and what is your story like as a person, growing up as a girl child from Arua, from Moyo? I mean, did you ever see yourself where you are today? What was the story like?
As I said before, I came from a humble family, a family of 5 people, 5 children. My father and a mother recently passed on. May God rest their soul in eternal peace. Yeah. But I grew up like many other young girls in this country who are from the countryside, not very advantaged with life. My mother was an ophthalmologist, and actually she's a mentor to me because she's one of the first people to come in Arua district in the 1990 to kind of give awareness about eyes, about the eye, you know, the cataracts, and she was able to, you know, operate people's eyes and they were able to see. So my mother was passionate about work, and some of the values I draw today are from my mother. Yeah. She was for me such a model because she really somehow kind of single-handedly raised us. Although I had a father, he was, you call him an electrical engineer. Yeah. And he kind of retired early. So in the early 94, my dad, for some reason, decided to get early retrenchment. So he left the burden of care to my mother. So my mother was raising nearly 5 children on her own. Yeah. I am the third born in the family. Yeah. I had a stepbrother, he's passed on. My elder sister is in police keeping mission now. Myself, and then 2 siblings, a boy and a girl, and then we had a cousin that was with me. But what I'm telling this story because as a mother, women, I'm relating so much to women and what they go through, families, what they go through. Yeah. So I had a mother who was doing everything she could do to raise nearly the children alone, although the husband was there. Yeah. It was hard for us because I experienced also hardship, poverty, and I know what it means. And one of them, I remember in the university we had a course called Poverty and Development. I didn't have to study it. I'm like, you know what, poverty.
You are the course itself.
I'm like, I am the course itself. So this one, no need to study. So I had to pass it very highly because I understood. It was a tough life because, you know, civil service work, the payments, and it was hard to pay school fees for many children. So, well, in short, I had to stand out as a leader already as a child. I was helping my mother in running her clinic that she was using to get some income. So when she's in the hospital, I would take care of the clinic and be like a nurse. So I started that actually by primary school and went on to secondary. But when I reached senior 6, I said, no, this is illegal. I can't do this. So it's a profession and you've got to become a nurse, you know, a doctor. And I had to leave it. But that in short, we had challenges as far as school fees is concerned. You know, a single parent really, I would say, not very easy to raise it. So, you know, when you're in school those days, you carry yourself as a lady, even on a bicycle. You carry yourself to school, fall on the way as you go with your luggage, but you come back. And so it was a struggle with school fees for us. But one thing that made me think already at that time, I was a leader in various settings. I was an active leader in the youth category, I would say. We had what they call the young Christian students. I was a leader right from secondary school, and I was the head of the section in the school. Even at the district, I was a publicity secretary. And eventually, when I came to Makerere, I was the vice national leader. So in this YCS, I'm saying it because there was so much values that we drew from being...
There's leadership
instilled in you. So we had so much values. Then we were really like, you know, you had to be, we had themes like models for change. The leader is, you know, you have to go to be a model for change. You know, there were so many values. So what we did was that even in school, you had to identify where are the problems and kind of, as students, try to resolve the problems within the school and outside. But I was also an UNSA chairperson in the school, and also in the district, I was also a leader. And so these things helped me a lot. And one thing that I knew that I said, in our family, you know, we were born on the other side, not very privileged like others, but you needed to work hard to be better. I knew that to be successful, you've got to work hard. And as a woman, I never believed in getting handouts from men or, you know, having a boyfriend or something as a short, you know, as a way of meeting your basic needs. It is very costly. So the only way out was education. And I really did believe, and up to today, I value so much education, that no matter what, education is the way out. And I knew that if I succeed, my siblings will not have to suffer. They had to get education. And that's what I did. As soon as I finished the university and got my first volunteer job as a lecturer, you know, I was never afraid of challenges because you had to face challenges and deal with them. So it built me up. I kind of became very strong, and there's nothing that I would be afraid of. And something that I drew from my early childhood, the motto of the schools, like the primary school. In Arohi, it was saying, I will try, come what may. And then, no, it was hard work pays, actually. Then in Muni Girls, it was, I will try, come what may. So there's nothing that can defeat you. So you pick up yourself and move. So for girls, I really do believe that even today, when you look at the context we are with COVID, and we hear so many cases of girls getting pregnant, I really want to speak to them that, you know, challenges are there in life, but you never give up. You've got to fight on and really believe in God. But what keeps us moving is that faith in God. When you have God in your heart and you really, really believe in the values that come from, you know, from your faith, it can move you to mountains. It can move mountains from your life, actually. You can actually overcome so much and be what you want to be. So I was a leader, I would say by default or whatever, but I was always in leadership. And I believe that for every problem, there is a solution. And there's no problem that is permanent. You can always overcome it.
Well, we're talking to Jennifer Okusia Erejo. We're yet to know the names that sounds from the eastern part of Uganda, but yet she's talking of the West Nile part of the country. Of course, the West Nile part of Uganda is a part of the country from the northern part of Uganda. If you're watching the show from anywhere across the world, it's a CEO Bench. My name is Okila. Jennifer Okusia Erejo is the new executive director of BOSCO Uganda, an organization based out of the northern part of Uganda. 14 years of doing community work around, and she's been promoted to the executive director spot, and therefore the vote came to us to have her on the show. You've just had the first part of the interview with Jennifer, where we're talking about who is Jennifer, what are you, growing up, what did you want to be, what was it like? We're going to take a break, and when we come back, Jennifer and I will dive more into what excites her as we move towards the discussion about her role as a woman leader. Not just a woman leader, taking over from a sport that is usually men, and moreover in the Catholic Church. What a story right there. Stay right there, I'll be right back after the break. Welcome back from that break. This is the CEO Bench. My name is Okila, and my guest this morning on the CEO Bench, or this night or this evening, depending on which part of the world you are actually watching the program from, is Jennifer Okusia Erejo. Jennifer, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
First of all, let's talk about your name, the set of your names. One would think you hail from the eastern part of the country, where my friends who hail from that part keep saying that they come from the land of the wise men. The eastern part of Uganda is Teso. How did you acquire the name from Teso?
Actually, that name is not from Teso.
Yes.
But I always find whenever I say I'm Okusia, people think I'm from Teso. And I always get people greeting me in the language.
Yes.
And all I could, respond maybe with the response, and that's it. But it's actually named from West Nile.
From West Nile.
From Arua.
Yeah. What does it mean, by the way?
It means because of woman.
Because of woman. Okusia?
Yes.
Wow. And Erejo?
Erejo is actually my husband's name.
Okay. Is he also from the West Nile?
Yes, he's from Arua.
So this is just a coincidence that both of you have the names from, the northern part and the eastern part of the country. But welcome back. So now we know that Okusia means it's because of a woman.
Oh, woman, yes.
Wow. Jennifer, what excites you right now that you are a new executive director of this new organization? Let's dive into it briefly.
Thank you. Before I became an executive director, I was working with an organization called Horizon 3000, an Austrian organization for development cooperation. I was working for many years with them, at least 13 years, and in the area of programming, like project development. So it was an amazing work to see what people are doing, plan with them projects that have big impacts on lives. So projects on water and sanitation, agriculture, and so on. And BOSCO Uganda was one of the partner organizations of Horizon 3000. I decided to leave. I was working in Kampala here, but I decided to go up north to the ground because I felt I needed to have better impact on the ground, kind of relate to the people on the ground and plan projects that actually transform lives. So what really is passionate for me is designing projects or interventions that really transform lives. And for an organization, of course, you're looking at ensuring their systems working, their structures. So I went to BOSCO Uganda with the passion of supporting the organization to further grow, to look into their structures and systems and processes, and also to ensure that whatever we're doing to the communities will transform lives. Now, when you look at ICT, for instance, there's so much you can do beyond connectivity. If you look at the education sector right now, we have so many. My children have lost 2 years at home for staying at home.
Wow.
The lower level children, they have lost time. Now, what can you do? What can ICT do? What can you do to bridge the gap? And so we see that there is so much with ICT that we can actually do now to transform lives. I started from a rural school, and we had to sit national exams. With schools that have the privilege of power. We used that term. We used to use, this hurricane lamp. Yes. But you see the same national exams. But now with ICT, with government, things have changed. We now at least have connectivity, although not reaching to many rural places yet. With BOSCO Uganda, I could see the opportunity of how ICT, their work can transform lives. Not only, by the way, they don't only do ICT, we also have solar. We do solar installations. There is one school called John Paul II, a secondary school in Gulu, that received the 30 kilowatt solar energy in partnership with Accenture and the University of Notre Dame. And that has transformed that school completely. they were off-grid, but now they have power. It means the learning hours for students has increased, teachers able to access information on the net. BOSCO Uganda also supports network, the intranet system, so you can build, you know, an intranet where you can collaborate. So we partnership, for instance, with UNICEF. They established Colibri. They worked on the Colibri content and helped schools to access that. So more than ever now, with ICT, what excites me is that you can actually have education materials available in a school or even in a center, in an ICT center. So what we want to do as BOSCO Uganda, in those centers that are already established, for instance, have content there so that even students who are at home, those who go from, you know, the day scholars, secondary school, can go to the library, to the ICT centers, and get education material, whether it is videography or do some research in the centers in the rural areas, because all those centers are powered with solar. So even if they're not having access to the national grid, they can still run, you know, on solar, because we establish low-powered, you know, computers and with solar backup. So it excites me so much to see the opportunity of what we can do, even especially now that schools are closed, that children can still access materials from these ICT centers, from even one of our ICT centers in Badege, which is in the Gulu city. You come in there and actually you can do your online learnings from there. And for me, that is so exciting. That's only in ICT, in education. But when you look at health as well, so much can be done to digitalize the health sector and improve, you know, on services, service delivery. So I just want to say in summary that there is so much that I saw that BOSCO Uganda could do beyond what they were doing, like connectivity, build up more content and have this available in the rural areas. Network the ICT centers so that every centers in the rural areas, from Pade, Gulu, Kitgum, you know, they have the content and people can walk there, have internet access, but have an intranet system where you can get data. I mean, get information, content, rich content that you on biology, on physics, even on mathematics. So this is what really excites me. And besides that also, I think I love working with people and as I said, transforming lives. I really want to see lives changed. Whatever we do, we must account for results, and starting from, say, the individual. If your program does not change lives.
Wow. Jennifer, we're going to go straight on that note to the leadership part of this interview. I mean, the program you're on, you know, focused on leadership, change management, and transformation. And you've touched a little bit there. So I want to go straight to leadership. Having heard you speak about what excites you in this new role that you are in right now, and it gives me an opportunity to ask a question. On the question of leadership, what is your understanding of true leadership, from self to leadership at family level, to leadership at community level, to leadership at where you are right now, which is organizational level?
All right.
What is your understanding of leadership?
First of all, I do believe that everyone is a leader. And we are leaders in different capacities, right from home. Even we see children take up leadership. As I said, when I was young, I was supporting my parents to, bring income at home and also to care for the others. In an early age, just as soon as I finished my university and I got a job, I had to take over responsibility to support the siblings to also get education. All of them got a degree. I was the first graduate in the family. And I do believe even at family levels, when you see the husband and wife, you know, they always believe men are the heads of the family. But we've seen so many women do so much in the family, and it's not recognized. Leadership for me is when you recognize that you have something to offer, when you recognize you have passion to do something, you can inspire others, and you actually are committed to what you do and to the values that you have. I think for me that is leadership. So the values that carry you right from your childhood to your workplace and even to the society. It's not about how good you speak, it's about the things that you do. The things that you say you will do, and do you actually do them? Do you inspire people to go to greater heights? And another thing I think in leadership is about the transformation. Are you able to leave people behind in a better way? And that is important.
Wow. Well, we're talking to Jennifer Okusia Erejo. I need to get that name correct. She's the Executive Director of BOSCO Uganda. BOSCO Uganda is an international, or rather a local organization that is going international from Uganda, based in northern part of Uganda. It's been there for 14 years. She's been nominated as our guest on the CEO bench today. And I think that those who nominated her surely had the reason for their vote to bring her to the CEO bench. And Jennifer, we want to say thank you, because the things you speak about are quite very serious stuff. I want to take you to the next question. On that note that you have now talked to us about what leadership is, your understanding of leadership, who is a leader to you, and are you one? If yes, what type of a leader are you, Jennifer?
I am a leader, and I think a transformational leader.
Yes.
In the mix with a democratic kind of leadership. But I think, as I said, leadership is what you, when you believe you can do something, you stand out.
Yes.
You know, you stand out and do something. Like, as I said, in the early ages as a youth, you find there is need for something. You mobilize solutions. That is leadership for me. Yeah. You, like right now in the organization, you're looking at how do I put up systems and structures that would help the organization to function even beyond my existence. That is a good trait of a leader. A leader has to raise up other people. You must be visionary. That is something that I think is in any good leader. You must have a vision. You must be able to see the future and work towards that. Set up some goals and be able to achieve that. And as I said, for me, it's so important that whatever we're doing has to have an impact on people. And we must account for results. So as a leader, you must set up plans, you must set up, you know, what you want to change and be able to account for that.
Wow. Jennifer, on that note, I want to take you straight to this question. So, we now know you said you're a transformational leader. What type of a leader are you, or will you be at BOSCO Uganda, now that you're going in as the freshest executive director? Moreover, the first female in that organization, taking over from people who have a huge portfolio. I mean, I look at the person that you're taking over from, and I realize that it's not just a simple role that you're going to take, but you're actually taking over a role that requires you to transform that organization and give meaningful lives to those who work in that organization, as well as the communities in that area, and Uganda as a country. Okay, so what kind of a leader will you be at BOSCO Uganda?
A leader that values people and their contributions. Also, I think a leader who looks at, I like to work with people who are committed. In whatever we do, we have got to be committed. It's not about the money, it's not about the status, but it's about what we do, a servant leadership. So being on the ground and doing actually the work. I just came from a study that we're doing in the West Nile in the health sector to understand the challenges so that we work on a digital solution in partnership with Accenture, that is supporting JICA and the Ministry of Health, to look around the digitalization and finding solutions that would help improve information, how do I say, data collection and analysis and decision taking to actually support informed decision taking. And I think that is something I was on the ground. I was driving to some of the locations, the health centers, to be there and see them. So it's not about directing people, but I was on the field with the team, understanding and leading them through the challenges. We had so many challenges, but we had to go through. So you lead by action and lead by example. So for me, it's about being very true. There are values that you cherish, that you carry. Issues around honesty. I'm a very honest person, and I love facts. I love facts. I'm in my leadership, I'm looking at, you know, if you say we've done this, can we account for it? Are we truthful in what we say we have done? And can we actually prove that our activities make a difference? And can we distinguish what we're doing from other contribution and acknowledge what others are doing? So for me, accountability is very critical. Transparency in whatever we do is very, very important. And above all, how do I say, the values that we carry along, integrity, issues around the ethics, these are really very important. I want to see our interventions truly transform lives. If we're saying we're going to a school and support the school, what concretely can we get out? What can they say? What change have we brought to that school? You know, we would love to see people actually speak about that change. And not for us to speak for them and say, we did this actually, but people should be able to, you see, you carry the people along. I would say actually, for whatever intervention you're doing, put the people in the driving seat so that the communities themselves are part of that intervention that you're coming up with. Even as an organization, you want to live, you want the organization to continue beyond you. So you're setting up a legacy that, how do I say, future generations will remember because of the things you did. Not the things that you say you will do, but actually what you did. So that is very important. And leadership should be accountable. And you've got to be truthful. You've got to be transparent in whatever you do. And that is very, very important for me. So that's what I bring in BOSCO. I want the truth. I would love that whatever we say we have done can be provable. If you want to check it out, check our work. So that is important.
We are talking to Jennifer Okusia, the Executive Director of BOSCO Uganda, right here on the CEO bench, and she's telling us about her leadership journey. Self-leadership for me is quite very important for a leader, and I think that Jennifer quite account for that effectively. And of course, we are talking to Jennifer about her role as the Executive Director at BOSCO Uganda. Do you have a question for Jennifer? Do you see a lady who is on the rise to the top who is perfectly befitting of being on the CEO bench because she's a lady on the rise to the top? And we're going to take a break, but just before we take a break, Jennifer, I want to ask you one more question to, you know, sum up the leadership part, and then we'll come back and talk about change management and particularly the things that you want to do or you're going to do at BOSCO Uganda. And my question on the leadership, to sum it up, is basically about what is your understanding of leadership at the personal level? Most people don't understand leadership at personal level. They don't know how to separate the two. They are stuck in one place, don't know what to move and how to move, but yet we're seeing Jennifer moving from one place to the next. And what is your understanding of leadership at the family level? Most people think that if you're personally very effective as a leader, you are going to be effective at the family level. And that is not true. Sometimes the family dynamics is different because it can break you down. For example, if you decide to go and there's a problem between you and Mr. Erejo today and there's no understanding between the two of you, chances are that if personal effectiveness as a leader is not going to be seen at BOSCO Uganda. How? What is your understanding of that? And we want to know, what is your understanding of leadership at a society level? There are dynamics that needs to be managed at that point. There are things that a leader needs to look at that point. You've talked about the quantifiable, justifiable, measurable metrics of a leader, that the impact should be seen. But we want to dive straight to understand, what is your understanding of that, as well as at the corporational level, which is where you are right now, and at the national level. There are dynamics that play in as you talk about transformation. Can you share and shed more light on that one?
Okay, thank you very much. At a personal level, I think it is, for me, it is again the values that you have and carrying those values with you. For instance, now I have raised up children, not only my own children, I've raised quite a number of children. I'm here for work, I've been out for a month, and they're managing. My children are managing, the elder ones are able to manage the younger ones without any issues. Young girls who are raised up right now and so assertive, they are so, I mean, I have no doubt about their capabilities. They're taking care of the little ones who are about 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, even in my absence. I think that's already an evidence of good leadership at the family level. Because for me, it's so important to impart values in people. And I see this in my children. I see this in the children, even those I've adopted. And they are carrying themselves with grace. You look at them and you see in schools, the feedback you get from the teachers about those girls, amazing. So these are young children, young youth who are already even taking responsibilities of mothers. They are caring for others. They are able to self-organize the families. Even in absence, my absence at home, you know, a month away from home and everything is okay. That shows you that even at personal level, there is leadership. of course, at family, you have the husband and the wife.
Yes,
and
yes,
sometimes
yes.
the wife is very strong and vocal,
Yes.
and the husband is a bit timid.
Yes.
But I think it's about understanding. And I am not really the kind of feminist people, like, you know, all these stereotypes about women and men. I really do believe about equity. You know, fairness in whatever we do, whether it's because of race or gender or religion. We've got to be fair to each other, and we want to see women and men, you know, receive equitable treatment. At the level of leadership at the organization, you want fairness, even for pay, you know, to female employees or male employees. Look at the competence of your people, look at the commitment of the people. It shouldn't be about because it's a woman or a man. For me, leadership is the character that you bring in, and it can be natural. You can harness the leadership as you go on. I can't say I'm an excellent CEO. You know, I am still starting. But I do believe in the values that will take me to where I want to be. The vision that I have for the organization, you know, and being able to have the right networks, associating with people who have similar understanding of what they want to do, even in the society, and that's it. At society level, we look at how to go with the communities. It's so important that whatever we do, communities own it. So you do not want to be, how do I say, a big talker and never an implementer. And that is why you see sometimes people who you hold very highly at a higher level because they hold very important positions. But when you get to know them personally, you're very disappointed because there seems to be a mismatch in the values that they carry right from home and there. So outside they may look so good, but internally at home they're having other kind of values. So for me, a leader, whether you are seen or not seen, are you doing the right thing? As a leader, you've got to do the right thing. You do the right thing whether people appreciate it or not. Take the tough decisions, even when others are not happy. But most important for me at organization, legacy, it is being able to raise other people and let other people, if you've left, if you are, raise other people so that when you go, there is no gap. You get
Jennifer's left.
Yes, and everybody collapses.
And everybody collapses, yes.
That is very important. You must carry people along. Give the people opportunity, give them higher tasks so that you're building up capabilities within your people. Give them tasks, move to higher levels, so that when you go, you not hold on. I've seen that challenge sometimes with organizations, and the people hold on, and they don't give you the chance to be what you want to be. You have conflicted visions. It's so important, because even leadership at the board level, how are you aligning yourself with the CEO to ensure that the systems that you're putting in place are working, putting in structures, and moving beyond an individual, how do I say it? Is it a structure? You know, the organizations that depend on individuals. It's very dangerous because it will collapse. It should be building systems and structures and internal processes that will help a system to function even without you. And that's what I stand for, and that's what I really believe on.
Wow.
And if I had the opportunity to get additional funding, I think there's so much that we can do. From what we've been doing in the study and seeing the gaps that are there, very sad. I have moved to the communities in the West Nile, nearly most of the districts, 12 districts of West Nile, and I have seen the challenges that women face, men face, from infrastructure issues in the health centers. They're very inadequate. I've looked at, you see, you have a health center too, and by structure, they're not supposed to offer deliveries. It's OPD. But some of the health centers are located in a very distant place. They are the oldest health center in the radius of over 10 kilometers or even 20. And people need services, they need health services. So when you see mothers are dying, it's because there's a gap in leadership. What can we do to ensure that we build up institutions, we build up structures, we build up systems that will meet the needs of our people? And that is very important. So whatever interventions we do, we've got to ensure that these are able to transform lives. So if I'm in the health sector, what can I do to change lives?
Wow. We're talking to Jennifer Okusia, Erejo. I think is a very powerful woman, well set with all our goals, ready to go and conquer the world at BOSCO, Uganda. This is not BOSCO the Katala of the city of Kampala. This is BOSCO the Katala of the city of the community in northern part of Uganda. We'll be right back after the break. This is the CEO Bench. It is the CEO Bench. My name is Okila, and welcome back from that break. In the studio with me is the Executive Director of BOSCO Uganda, an organization that deals in ICT management in rural areas in northern part of Uganda. 14 years of existence, and of course the executive director, the new executive director, the female taking over from a man in a Catholic organization is not an easy place to be. Jennifer, welcome back to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before we went for a break, you were talking so much about you know, leadership and change management, leadership and transformation, leadership and the things that excite you and the things that you're going to do. I want to take you straight, Jennifer. Change management is our next part of the show, and then we'll go to transformation as we close the show. What is your understanding of change management, and which principles do you always apply when moving out from an organization? That's one. And how do you communicate it as well as manage the expectations to where you're going? Like right now, you've left an organization, you're going to BOSCO, Uganda. All right? Mm-hmm. Your next address is there. How do you manage to tell people you're leaving where you've been for 13 years? And then how do you manage the expectations of where you're going, where you're going to start another journey, most probably another 13 years? And not everyone finds this very easy. Not everyone is able to leave their job to move. Most people are stuck in one place and they're wondering what to do and how to go about it. They don't even know. But yet we see you and we have you here on the CEO bench as the next executive director of BOSCO Uganda. What is your understanding of change management in that regard, in that context?
Well, that's a broad theme.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where to start from, but I think change management is like managing change.
Yes.
So you kind of, whether it's at a personal level or an organization level,
Yeah.
you want to, there's something that you want to change. Mm-hmm. So for me, it is about, first of all, understanding where you are, mm-hmm. and then defining what kind of change you want to see. Mm-hmm. I can give an example. For instance, for programs, when you are designing a program, it is so critical to understand where you are. Mm. Like what we're doing now in an effort and in a wonderful partnership with Accenture, working together with JICA and the Ministry of Health, is to study what is happening in the health sector and seeing what changes are going to be possible. One of the things that we found in our study, for instance, is that a lot of data is being collected, like every month, every day,
yes.
the health workers, especially level 3s, because we're studying level 2 and 3s. Yes. There's so much data being recorded every day. If you walk to a rural health center, 2 or 3, you'll find the workers very busy. Yes. They are not only seeing patients, but they have to record data every single day. But what is the challenge with that is that at the end of the month, they must submit the report, so they don't even have the time to do analysis. And in order to make change possible, you need to use also technology. You need to change from a manual system to a system that is going to help you do analysis and be able to make an informed, timely, real-time decision. So what we're doing now, for instance, now in that, I'm just giving an example of a health center. There's going to be, we visualize a lot of change going to happen. That even at a clinical officer will be able to do start building up their management capabilities. They are going to start analyzing the data, understand why some kind of diseases, why malaria cases are going up, and not wait for feedback three months later from the district. They are able to look at the performance of the workers. They are able to understand how to even allocate resources, and a number of things like that. So for change to happen, you've got to understand where are you and where do you want to go, and then set up a strategy to go. When I left the previous organization, they have never fallen back and said, where are you? And you build systems. You make sure that you're documenting what you're doing, so that there is no gap in knowledge. So for me, knowledge management is very critical. So even when people leave an organization, you must leave it in a way that is professional. I've seen organizations where people just, tomorrow they disappear, they're not there. That is a bad practice. Change is inevitable. And it must happen because of the changes in the world that we're seeing in terms of technology, in terms of, the circumstances we're in. It's so important that you continuously monitor the environment, whether it is internal or external, and see how to overcome, especially the negative shocks that may come through maybe change of policy. COVID has happened, and people have been, those who didn't want to change, who didn't want to learn computer, have no choice now. Now, they are going to struggle, because they missed opportunities to adopt to the change that is happening. So managing change for me is looking within an organization and seeing what has to change. For instance, the organization culture. If you find a culture of, not only you talk about laissez-faire leadership, but there's also laissez-faire kind of behaviors among staff. You find where you have people leave their coats on the seats. You're waiting for an officer, it is his coat there. It's a Monday. It's a Friday, they are gone. So you know you're seeing cultures, you're seeing behaviors which need to be changed through the values that you must bring into an organization. So you realize you must set up systems, and you must be tough about some of the changes. Sometimes it doesn't go well for you, but you have to do the right thing. Because if you want to move from here to there, you must have a clear vision, and you must have clear strategies on how to reach there, including punitive measures. It's very important. So for me, in an organization, for instance, to change the culture, it's a big one. Change that culture of where people come at 10 a.m. and they leave at 3. Or people come early and they're actually not doing anything. So a change process could be having a result-based system where you account for results. And you may not like it. But what do? That is what you want to see. You want to be honest, you want to be accountable, you want to account for results, you want to see impact, you want to see changes in people's lives. So that means you've got to do something that even is unpopular, but for the right cause. So for me, managing change is not very easy. You may get the struggles, like your vision may conflict with others. But what do? You stand to what you do. And if you find that, for instance, the values are conflicting with what is there, you can't change something. Move on. Because why would you change your values if you find, for instance, the things that you cherish, and I talk about values, and you're not getting the opportunity to be what you want to be. You go. In leadership, sometimes there are many people I know who are stuck because they feel the name of the organization is what, is popular. There could be good leaders out there, but they are stuck because of reputation of the organization. Yet the world is waiting to see them.
They have actually outgrown this space.
They have outgrown the space. They are so afraid of change. I am not afraid of change. I move, even if it means taking risks, but for the right reasons. Once you check your intentions are right, and you feel you can make a contribution somewhere. Correct. It is good to lose something, but you gain it along the way. So for me, that change has to be well thought. What is it I want to change? How does that resonate around my values? How does it help me? For instance, it was so helpful for me to have more time with my children, which was very difficult in Kampala now because, traffic jam. You lose 6 hours in traffic. You reach home when the kids are sleeping, you leave when they're sleeping. As a mother, for me, that was not something that, it was already conflicting with my values. I had to do something to make sure that I am able to be busy as a CEO, as an ED in work, but still knowing what is going on in my home and making sure that the children are growing up with values, that when you come to my home, you're not embarrassed by what you see there. So balancing, as a woman, it's so tricky, balancing between leadership in the office and even at home. It's not easy, but it is possible to achieve it. So I see many women held behind because they're also afraid. Maybe their husbands are not encouraging them to do what they want to do. And life is to be lived once. You, as an individual in this world, have been put for a purpose here. And once you understand that you are, an ambassador in this world, and you have a purpose to fulfill on this world, you're not afraid of even what your husband may say. He will catch along the vision as you go. But you move. And along the way, he'll say you took the right decision. So I really encourage people out there that sometimes change is inevitable. You've got to change. And sometimes people insist on holding on when everything is falling apart. You're going to fall eventually. Because it's like an ice. You have an ice and there is sun. Slowly it is melting away, but you're still holding on. You remain and fall. So you need to take the change and move. Sometimes it's a tough decision, but you must move the change. You must act so that you reach where you want to reach. Because the vision that you had before, this is how many years now back. Align it to the context today. Align it to the challenges and opportunities that you see today, like with COVID now. There's so much that we can do. Yes, there's a problem, but for every problem, there is a solution. So you have got to change some of the, your activities, your actions, in order to bring that positive change that you want to see.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking to Jennifer Okusia Erejo. She is the Executive Director of BOSCO Uganda, and I can tell you the nominations were not in vain. She is really fit for where she's going. Jennifer, we want to just encourage people to send in their kisses and disses coming. If Jennifer is doing well, kiss us. If she's not doing well, please diss us. We're okay. We will be able to respond to you. And please set your questions ready for Jennifer. We'll be able to try and pick a couple of 2 or 3 questions coming from all the viewers all out there and all across the world onto this topic of the CEO bench and leadership, change management, and transformation. Jennifer, let me drive you to a very specific part of the show, which is, closing change management, going to transformation, as it is here on the show. When you speak with a lot of passion, you speak with a lot of energy, you speak with a lot of, drive and self-motivation. How does it feel to be leading an organization at the forefront of digital technology and connectivity founded by the Catholic Church, and of course the essential, as we know, as a young mother from Uganda, from a young girl from Arua, with all the background you've given? How does it feel like to be now at the forefront of this organization that usually are led by men, not women?
It feels great.
Yeah.
It feels great because there's so much we can do today with technology, with ICT, to transform lives, to transform even business operations, to transform organizations. We've seen many organizations struggling. The cost of internet is still very, very expensive, very, very high for many people. It's not affordable with the commercial networks. It's quite expensive. So BOSCO Uganda gives support to organizations that actually aids their work. They get it at a very, very low cost. It is really actually free, especially like the Archdiocese, the Archbishop. He's supported, he's our father, and he's supported to even live stream. And he's reaching out to the people in this period where there's a lockdown and you can't even go to church anymore. So we're seeing radio stations in the region who are broadcasting using our, our platform live to the audiences. So we're supporting other institutions to even achieve their missions and their visions, their goals. That is something beautiful that BOSCO Uganda is doing. And we thank actually NITAU, we thank UCC that supported a community network organization like BOSCO Uganda to exist. Completely not-for-profit organization that looks at communities and sees how to to end the digital isolation for many people. We have wireless network in an office. People can access, internet from wherever they are with the hotspots and be able to work. That is something that BOSCO Uganda, I just love the organization because they were seeing very far. They had very good insight. The founders had such beautiful vision of the future, way before, this technology was even here. So for me, it's something that is beautiful. The potential of what we can do is amazing. For instance, if we go to a health center now and digitalize data so that they no longer have to spend time writing long notes, in the registers. You feel, Jennifer, your age, your sex, and so on and so forth. These registers are so many. There's even no store for keeping the register. Digitalize that information so that you're able to even trace who is coming to the facility, improve diagnosis, improve care, so that the doctors, the nurses are able to see who came in. I have been privileged through, I think, working with an international organization to attend medical care in a private hospital. And I saw from the triage, a system where you walk in, the doctor already has your record before you even come in. But in this manual system, you are going to start telling your story again. So with technology, the potential of even improving health service delivery is amazing. You can, for instance, we've seen some partners do, for instance, something on addressing mortality rates, death among children, that is like say under 1 year, using technology. The doctor is able to monitor the health of the children and even improve diagnosis. So with technology, there is so much that we can do. We can have students studying from home. Many schools now are doing virtual. If you see the schools in the northern region, many of them are very rural. They don't have power. They don't have even a single computer. Many schools don't have a computer. So as BOSCO Uganda, coming in and providing them with computer, providing them a network system, an intranet system within the school system, so that there are networks, the students can go learn basic computer skills. We are building up leaders, we're building up Ugandans who are digitally literate. Yeah. And these people are going to be able to do their own coursework. For us, we learned computer in the university. We didn't. I learned it at university. I was lucky. Yeah, a cousin of mine told me, you need to go and learn computer. In 2 weeks, I was able to learn, and I took off. Yeah. That, how do I say, just a little support as good as giving people basic skills sets them to move and discover themselves. Yeah. So now with internet connection, what can they not do? Students are we're going to still, how do I say, improve education, the quality of education. We see the possibility of even schools across, networking, say a rural school partnering with a Kampala school, or that is having teachers being able to broadcast and exchange materials online. Yeah. And we're going to carry the same vision of, because we want to see our citizens better. Yeah. So with BOSCO Uganda, there's so much opportunity we have available to support education, health, even agriculture. Yeah. We've seen people use the apps to, to study the health of your farm. Yes. So use technology to develop. And that's why I love what we're doing, because I bring in the aspect of development. I'm not a technician, but I tell them if people do not understand and use it, then it is useless. It has got to make a difference in the lives of the people. It's not about knowing, like now, you may not even know what comes into the camera, how it is, but you must know how to operate it and use it for something good. So we see technology bridging up with whatever we want to, the gap that we have in the sector, and what kind of solutions can we design to using the technology to take people, leapfrog people to another level. Yeah. We can actually catch up in this period of COVID, the losses through technology, and that is possible. So BOSCO Uganda having community networks, having ICTs, 54 ICT centers, these need to be strengthened. We need to see, I want to see, how do I say, when anyone walks into the center, even women, go there and find a content, say for instance, how to make cakes, bakery and so on. Yeah. Learn it from the ICT center, go home and do it, start a business. Wow. These are possibilities you can do with technology. And this is what you are This is the vision. This is what you want to take into Thank you. Uganda. This is what I want to bring, increased content, have content available, relevant content that is going to transform lives. I have learned a lot from the YouTube on how to make cakes. I don't need to come to an expensive school in Kampala. You can use it technology for it. Just get people exposed towards something and they see the good thing about it and they take off. So we can see that with technology, with ICT, women can transform their lives right from the home. You walk to an ICT center that is near you. Yeah. Students, even at home, can walk to the center. If you have a wireless system, hotspots available, like in the market in Gulu, we established the hotspots, and the women during the COVID, you can use it to sell, find market prices. Farmers are using it to find prices of, of their products. Network, the possibilities. You open people to the world and take them away from their small world. Open them up. People are doing businesses, electronically. Wow. So that's the beauty of BOSCO Uganda. I see so much that can be done. I can see what you're talking about. I can see through it. And I want you to share your questions if you have for Jennifer. But Jennifer, our time is being fast spent, but I want to take you to a more specific questions on faith-based. You are going into what we call a faith-based organization, and started by church as a church installation and the Catholic faith. What does faith, hope, inspiration, confidence, and success mean to you as a person? First of all, as a leader, as a person going in there as an executive director, especially in the light of consequences and effects of the pandemic COVID-19? I can quickly say that faith is what has made me today, and hope. When you have those challenges, some people have taken shortcuts and they are far. Some are gone, they are dead because of the decisions they took. But having faith in God, prayer is so important. For young people out there, I really tell them, my girls know that, even my little children, 2-year-old, prays. They all pray. They're learning how to pray. I'm building that foundation in them. They learn. I self-learned how to do these things. But I have made sure that for myself, my family is a prayerful family. These are values that they cherish. The children pray. They pray for me. You hear them pray, God bless mommy. many of the things that I'm getting, you know, God answers the prayers of little children. So faith for me from childhood was so critical. Faith, hope. You know, it makes you believe in possibilities beyond where you are. You see things and you actually affirm things. Like poverty, I said, poverty, I must kick it out of the family. I said, my family, I'll be the first graduate. My siblings will not, how do I say, will not remain uneducated, because I believe very much that with God all things are possible. So for me, at an individual level, this faith has brought me so far with the values that I cherish today, of honesty, hard work, how do I say, trustworthy, how do I say, transparency and so on. So these things guide me, and this came for me from the church. Being an active Christian, a Catholic, I am a Catholic, but I'm very, how do I say, I love God, and I can do nothing without him. I really do believe that the values that we have, the challenges we have, if you don't have God, you get swayed away. You get into the popularity thing, and before you know it, you're gone. But when you stick to your God, he never fails you. He actually comes through. And every time I had a challenge, there was always, he just made a way. God truly makes a way where there seems to be no way. And being in the Catholic Church, I really want to see that we're supporting not only the church, but it's an organization that reaches out to regardless of faith. We've established ICT centers in mosques, in Muslims schools, and that is important for us, because you're looking at humanity. With faith is you look at the human aspect of people, and you, regardless of race, religion, gender, you know, sex, you're looking at the human person, and you want what you want for yourself should be the same for others. Selfishness does not help us. I really do believe that there is more blessing in giving than in receiving. There is more blessing in giving than receiving. So I have seen people like Peter Nyeko, and he's a giver. I wouldn't be here without some people like him. What he's going to work on and what we are going to build together, working on to support health centers now have energy, 1.5 kilowatt energy in health center 2s and 3s. That is going to transform lives. Because I think these are some of the values that we commonly share, that we want to see people's lives change. We want to improve, you know, access. We want to provide an ambulance to people so that they transport mothers who are pregnant to facilities, help those facilities people do better with their lives. So for me, faith at a personal level, it's driving me to the organization. And even as I move out, it's so critical for me. I just want to see, be, how do I say, that light. The light of Christ that shines. And that for me is a big thing. Be the light, bring light where there's darkness. Give hope for other people. Let them see that you can, they're where they are now, they will also be somebody at some time. You don't have to be a perfect leader, but if you have the values and if you cherish the things that you do, the sky is the limit.
Wow. Jennifer, Uganda has a very interesting number of people. I want to localize this and bring it down to the African context. The African continent have a diversity of many people thinking in a different perspective altogether. The attitude and perception of people are very different. But bring it down here at home in Uganda, particularly most Ugandans, or Uganda is mostly you know, a country that is friendly to many people, likes to receive as many people as possible. And in recent times or in recent years, we've seen Uganda as, you know, a country that receives as many refugees as possible. But also pressure is beginning to build, in a sense that people are beginning to see that the space is going, and there's a lot of, you know, now small talks and, you know, brewing issues happening between the refugee communities and then the local indigenous people in this space. But yet, Uganda is one of the country in Africa that mostly rural and agricultural, you know, based. As a country, we are blessed with the soil, but we also host as more refugees as possible compared to most of the cities or countries across Africa, or even in the world. There's no country in the world that is hosting more refugees than Uganda. All right? And when you look at this, what is the biggest challenge in the rural and refugee hosting communities that you are inspired to transform through your work? We're getting into the transformation part of this program.